Today's video, I'm going to touch very quickly on how you can actually start to add CSS coding to your Divi website or Divi pages. It's very straightforward and just something that I think a few people are probably wondering about. So let's get onto it. Now I've got this page here that I've put together, and there's a few places we can actually edit CSS, and one of them I'm going to touch on quickly and then we're going to come back to it later, is if I go up the top here, I can go into Theme Customizer, or if I'm in my WordPress dashboard, in the left menu there's a Divi section, and there's also Theme Customizer there. We're going to click on this Theme Customizer, zoom in a tiny bit, and you probably, if you're familiar with WordPress, you'll know if you scroll down, there's additional CSS we can add here. I've already got a little bit of code there, nothing too crazy, but as you can see, I can have a bit of a play with, zoom out again just to get this right, a few areas such as the main header. I'm not sure if that's the right handler for it, but I can, the height, pixels, I can add in some CSS that way and code in certain rules that I want to fit. So by making the header 20 pixels, this is actually sitting and overflowing outside of it. I can make it 150, that sort of thing. Depending on what it is you want to do, we're just going to X out for now, but you can add in CSS into WordPress there quite easily for anything. But how do we take control of certain areas or add CSS to certain areas? So this is what the Divi theme actually comes in handy. If I enable the visual builder, we're going to, may reload in a second, we're going to actually look at a few areas and take control of them with CSS. So we'll start with, say, this text box over here. If I click on the cog symbol, we have our usual options here, design options. When I go to advanced, there's CSS classes and custom CSS down the left here. If I click on this, we actually can have a before section. So if I want to, I can have a content equals, go, something like that. So I can add in before, and I can actually add in custom CSS in the builder itself, as well as assigning handles to use in the other area. The main element itself, I can make the background dash color red and do things like that, add padding of 10 pixels, and I can add in my CSS code. Now at the moment the padding isn't showing up because there's actually a setting in the design area there, so I'll just add an important section there to bring that out a bit. So you can go in and find certain areas here, a promo description. This is the description area here. If you're not sure, you can actually hover, or you used to be able to hover and it would show you the actual CSS class, but you've got a few options there. So maybe we just make this font weight bold to make it bold, and so on. So we've got the same thing with our promo button. Maybe we want to make it zoom 200%. So we can go in and add custom CSS just under this advanced panel into the custom CSS areas, which is pretty handy. Something else I want to add, which a lot of people might not have thought of as well, is that there are also mobile options. I can actually set up CSS for desktop and tablet. Maybe I make, there's an error there, maybe for the main element, I can decide to make the background color blue. So when I go from one to another, and I can do the same thing again, it is scrolling down automatically for some reason. This is the main element we're looking at here. So background dash color, this time we'll just go a numerical value. So now I have this option. If I go to my tablet view and scroll down, it's blue. If I make it wider than 980 pixels, so 981, which is not letting me do, but I've got desktop, it's in red, tablet, it's in blue. If I keep going to phone, it will turn gray. So you can actually set up device rules and use almost like a media query, which is like at media screen, and you can set up various rules to go depending on the actual size of the screen that's being viewed. You can also set up a hover element. So if I want to, I can actually go to hover, and maybe the main element, I just make the zoom 120%, something weird like that. So that way, as you hover over this element, it actually zooms in, although it does play up in the Visual Builder itself, but you sort of get the idea. So I've got this here. I've got my advanced custom CSS, and I can add in all these various settings for phone, hover, and find what I want to here. But sometimes this isn't going to cut it. Sometimes you want to be more specific, and maybe the interface isn't helping. So I'm going to actually just tick out of that, and we're going to come down to, go back to desktop view. We can come over here. We're going to do this. We're going to add a background color and change a few things there. The first thing I'm going to do is click the cog symbol, go to advanced, and under CSS ID and classes, I'm going to add an ID. I'm going to call it title 1. And then maybe I'll come down to this title down here, and I'll give it a class. I'll call this one subtitle. So for title 1 and subtitle. And what it has actually done is it's added an ID to one and a class to another. So if I exit the Visual Builder, save and exit, I can go back into my theme customizer, and we've got our title 1 here. If I go to additional CSS and I start typing code, I can use my hash title 1. Now, keeping in mind, I'm not teaching CSS here as much as teaching anyone who knows CSS how to use Divi. I can type in something like background, color, equals hash, and maybe we make it 999 to give it a gray background. And yeah, maybe we add padding of 30 pixels. Oops, made a typo there. And we can actually access things that way. And then of course, we have down here our class, which is subtitle. So we go dot subtitle, and then maybe we decide to make, I believe this is a H2. Let's find out. We'll go H2. I can make the color, I'm just going to say red. So you can see now we can actually add in and make changes to our hashtags and classes. And then of course, if you really want to dig in deep, you can right click, inspect the element. I'm just going to turn this off. And we have our inspector here, so I can actually inspect. And you can see here we've got a H2. We can check the classes and go through the code and find what it is that we're looking for. So you'll find in here somewhere we have our subtitle class. Be somewhere in here. But you sort of get the idea because it has worked here. Subtitle right there. So you can still go through and do the same thing by finding the classes and IDs in the code itself. So a quick and easy video for you, a little bit different than usual, but if you're wondering about how to use CSS with Divi, that video hopefully has shed some light on it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Any questions, please leave a comment. Otherwise, have a great day and I hope to speak to you again soon.